First and foremost, give all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and his son Mashiach Yahweh Shah, who we know as Jesus Christ. We're gonna be talking about the Galileans today. I'm just trying to download this file to make sure to see if we can have some slides. And everything seems to have froze up. Your browser has blocked your screen. Okay, we good. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm gonna put the link in. Just want to load up these slides. Hopefully they load. Sometimes you have too many pictures in there. It don't load up properly. Oh man. And it's moving. Brother Dixon, shalom, brother. Good evening. Slides, your computer, upload file. And let me get this invite going. I'll put a link here. I don't know why this thing is acting so slow. And paste. Yeah, but we're gonna be dealing in a little history of the Galileans. Why is this place called Galilee? How did Samaria become Samaria? We're not gonna talk about that, but that's a question that we should be asking ourselves. We should be asking ourselves, how did Galilee become Galilee? How did it come from Naphtali to Zebulun to Asher to being called none of those things, but being called now Galilee? Shalom, Mark.
Hey, shalom. Y'all about to myself like a thug.
Yeah, about some thumb. Woo! I had a good meal and ready to eat dessert, man. Got a good lesson for dessert. Oh, to be a Galilean. We gonna go ahead and just get started. 7:35. We got a lot of slides, but some of this stuff is just some of it's a lot of dealing with pictures. Man, I'm never seen it load like this. But see, Lebanon, Upper Galilee was divided into two: Upper Galilee, Lower Galilee. I know you're familiar with Nazareth, Tiberias. That's a pagan. We're gonna get into that too, man. It's kind of a pagan place. You see all the rivers and the navigations around the Sea of Galilee, and that's important to know too, in knowing who these people are and why these people are there. So another map here. I gotta bear with me. Oh, see, we gonna skip the slide. All right, and that's the question. That's the question we ask. How do we get from the picture on the right, where the land is divided up, Asher, Naphtali at the top, Zebulun, Issachar, Manasseh, and we see even Simeon is in the midst of Judah. It's like, how did Simeon get snatched up? How did they get snatched? If they're in the midst, if Assyria didn't come down to Judah, how did Simeon get missing? And why are these places now? Why is the land of Manasseh and Issachar, why are they called Samaria now? Why is Asher, Naphtali, Zebulon, or Asher, Naphtali? Why is that called Galilee? Why is it called Galilee? And we know, you know, the Sea of Galilee. Whoever named that, we have to contribute that. Okay, well, it's called the Sea of Galilee, and then its name here could be Galilee, just from speculation. But we have to start asking ourselves questions. That's how people. That's how you learn. You learn by asking questions, and not just asking somebody else questions. If you don't want to do that, a lot of us don't want to do that. But you have to ask yourself questions, and then you go out and seek the answer to these questions. Because I know a lot of times, man, we have a teacher in front of us in class, and a lot of people don't like questions. A lot of people don't even like when other people ask questions. A lot of people are frowning up when somebody else asks a question. Like, come on, man. And then some people be relieved, like, yeah, I had the same question, but I ain't want to say nothing. And we see Moab down here, Ammon down here, our man's down there, Philistia right there. And on this side here, Tyree Zidon, we gonna get into that also. That will be on a little on this coastal line here. And I clicked the slide, but there it go. It finally went. Shalom, brother Dion.
Shalom.
They didn't drive the people out. All right, we're gonna go to Numbers chapter 33, and we're gonna read verse 51 and 52. It's just going over some verses that deal with Israel not driving the people out of the land, and particularly a lot of the northern kingdom, a lot of the 10 tribes.
This is Numbers 33 and 51. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye are passed over Jordan in the land of Canaan, then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, and destroy all their molten images, and quite pluck down all their high.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Keep going.
No, that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. You had broke up a little bit at the end, but you good. You good. Drive out the inhabitants of the land, destroy all their images, all their pictures. I have to look into that pictures. That kind of struck me while I was saying pictures. Did they have pictures back? But anyway, Judges 1, and we're gonna read 28 through 33.
Hey, Shalaka, it was not only. I think so you had like four of the tribe, but you also had some Gentiles in that land at that time. Um, uh, I was just reading about it before the class started. It was Gentiles up in there also.
Right. It was definitely Gentiles in this land and in Samaria, but we gonna see how it played out and how all that happened.
Time. Uh, Judges. I said Judges 1 and 28.
Con.
This is Judges chapter 1 and 28. And it came to pass when Israel was strong that they put the Canaanites to tribute and did not utterly drive them out. Neither did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites that dwelt in Gezer. But the Canaanites dwelt in Gezer among them. Neither did Zebulun drive out the inhabitants of Kitron, nor the inhabitants of Nahalal. But the Canaanites dwelt among them, and Alab, nor the Akzib, nor the Helba, nor the Afik, nor Rehob. Let's go on to Shalakia 33. But the Asherites dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land, for they did not drive them out. Neither did Naphtali drive out the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh, nor the inhabitants of Bethanath, but he dwelt among the Canaanites, the inhabitants of the land. Nevertheless, the inhabitants of Beth Shemesh and of Bethanath became tributaries unto them.
All right, so they became like a vassal state unto them. They let them stay in the land and dwell among them, but they had to pay taxes. Um, Israel was doing it very early in the game, and then you see later, we under that same system later in the game throughout our captivities. But didn't do what they were supposed to do. Is Op breaking up for anybody, or is it just me?
Yeah, Khan, is breaking up. He breaking up.
I got a
Yeah, you
bad
breaking.
signal. Let me see. I'm gonna take it off the internet. The house.
Yeah, you breaking up a little bit. But that's all we wanted to glean from that was the fact that they did not keep these folks. Ephraim didn't pull them out. Zebulon did not pull these Canaanites out of these lands. They dwelt amongst each other. Psalms 106:32-42. I read this real quick. They angered him. It says they angered him also at the waters of strife, so that it went ill with Moses for their sakes, because they provoked his spirit, so that he spake unadvisedly with his lips. They did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. Yea, they sacrificed their sons and daughters unto devils and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of the Lord kindled against his people, insomuch that he abhorred his own inheritance. And he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. Their enemies also oppressed them, and they were brought into subjection under their hand. And it's just a bad. It's just to see Moses getting out of spirit because of these people, and seeing that the psalmist even recognizes that and is writing about that. Just seeing their understanding that, yeah, man, those them people that got Moses out of the spirit. He ended up speaking crazy, talking about he finna hit the rock. Do I gotta save you again? And end up not getting into the kingdom because of these folks, man. But again, you see it just talking about them not destroying the people, and mingling with the heathen and learning their ways, even sacrificing their sons and daughters to Moloch. First Kings chapter 9 and verse 11, we're gonna see 20 cities given to King Hiram. 20 cities given to King Hiram. And he's the king of Tyre and Zidon, which again is on that border, over there, like the Phoenicians almost. Well, pretty much is. But how you sounding? Are you in a better place, or you
First Kings chapter 9 and verse 11. How it sound?
Okay.
sound crystal?
First Kings 9 and 11. Now Hiram, the king of Tyre, had furnished Solomon with cedar trees and fir trees and with gold, according to all his desire. That then King Solomon gave Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee.
He gave Hiram, and this is, you have to go back. I think it's in Amos with the talking about the judgment for Tyre and Zidon. and about the blood, them breaking the covenant, the brotherly covenant. They made a covenant, that Zari and Zidon would provide the trees, provide the oaks, and as much gold that Solomon needed for his temple. They was actually they cutting that timber down, and it would float down to Jerusalem. They had to float it down from the I want to say a river, but it could have been that ocean, man. They were floating that thing down and then bringing it in to Jerusalem. But it took a lot to get that temple built, and the King Hiram was a essential puzzle, essential piece to getting that temple, get Solomon's temple built. And for his works, Solomon gave him 20 temples. You still there in First Kings out?
Come,
You'll keep reading.
come. Verse 12. And Hiram came out from Tyre to see the cities which Solomon had given him, and they pleased him not. And he said, what cities are these which thou givest me, which thou hast given me, my brother? And he called them the land of Kabul unto this day.
All right, until this day. And when I see that until this day, I know that the writer is not writing, Chronicles and Kings written, over time, maybe even by different writers. But we know it didn't happen at that moment, because he's saying to this day that city is still named. That place is still named Cabal. But we see he gave Hiram 20 cities. He didn't like them. Cabal means the Phoenician is in the Hebrew meaning is kind of the same. You can look into it though, but you see here it says what does not please. All right, the name meaning what does not please in the Phoenician. And all these are Semitic languages, so they're gonna be pretty close. It's still there. It's still an Arab city there. If you look on the map there, you'll see it's north in the land of Naphtali, Asher, so forth. The city is still there. Founded 1200 BC. Cabal, and but
Hey, Shalaki, you see that's with a K, and the Bible's with a C. You know that. You see that?
C. Right, exactly. And like I say, it's Semitic languages, man. They differ a little bit, but basically they the same. And we're gonna get into that too. We're gonna get into that about with the Galileans, about the speech. I'll go ahead and read this here. It says at the moment, it's from travelujah.com. Shalakia, I got it full screen, so I couldn't see you, Brother Michael. Brother Michael's in the building. Shalom, Mark. Shalom, Sister Salisha.
Shalom, Mark. Shalom.
Appreciate you sending that text. That's how you get it. That's how that message get in. It says at this moment, Galilee drops out of history for the next 600 years. To be sure, 2 Kings 17 tells of the resettlement of Samaria, but Galilee is not mentioned. Archaeological research now reveals this was not just an oversight of the biblical writers. Surface surveys indicate no human occupation of Galilee during the 6th and 7th centuries BC. A few scattered small settlements began to appear in the following centuries, mostly military outposts, and a few small farming communities which sent their harvests to the coastal cities. The same conclusions can be drawn. That's why I was showing you that map earlier, showing you all those rivers and the Sea of Galilee. A lot of people farming there, a lot of people fishing there, and sending those things to the coastal cities to go even further, to be even further shipped out. The same conclusion can be drawn from the excavations of major sites as well. So Galilee remains essentially empty for more than half a millennia following the Assyrian invasions. After the Assyrian invasions, they're saying they cannot find no archaeological evidence of Galilee being pretty much inhabited, except some small settlements for half a millennia after the Assyrian invasion. And I think we're gonna get into it later, but initially when the Assyrians came in, they got them first two cities. Them first two tribes was Naphtali, Asher. They dipped in that and got that tip first. And then they went in, grabbed a few more, and then they ultimately went into that invasion. But it's still a question, though, how did they get Simeon if he's in the midst of Judah? But I don't have the answer for that. It's something else I got to look into. But the archaeological evidence reveals a sudden change about the start of the 1st century BC. Over a period of a couple decades, dozens of new villages appear. This indicates that a new, rather large population comes into Galilee. The trend continues for the next half century or so, with many new settlements appearing and then growing larger. Who were these new inhabitants? These new archaeological findings indicate that they were transplanted Judeans. So around the 1st century, again, this Hasmonean dynasty. They are out there, then they got back control of Judea, and they're expanding their land. They've conquered Samaria and tore down their temple. They still let them ride, put them under tribute, then went further up to Galilee, and nobody's there. They start inhabiting Galilee, sending Judeans up into Galilee. The ancient historian Josephus relates how Alexander Jannaeus, the king of Israel from 102 to 76 BC, extended the northern boundary of his Judean-centered country into Galilee during his reign using military means. I was just talking about it. The archaeology reveals that the new inhabitants were Judeans. First, the currency of the region is now that of the Judean Jannaeus and his successors. It is not that of the coastal cities or of Damascus for the north in Syria. All right, so they probably found coins and to prove that, because the Hasmonean dynasty, we had our own money. All right, and they finding these coins that was the currency being used at that particular time, and so they know that it was controlled by Judea. First, the currency in the region is now that the Judean Jannaeus and his successors. It is not of the coastal cities of Damascus further north in Syria. Second, excavated village areas reveal the same interest in religious purity common among Judeans, with ritual baths cut out of the bedrock in houses that contained stone bowls, cups, and plates that were impervious to impurity. Third, the Galileans followed Judean diet in that they did not eat pork. No pig bones are found in the garbage dumps. So the archaeological research of the recent decades now shows that the Galilean population of Jesus' time were descendants of Judean immigrants of a century or so earlier. Whether it had been Jewish immigrants in this, they're gonna show you all these sources here. Whether it had been Jewish immigrants or Judea or Galilean peasantry forcibly converted to Judaism that ultimately became the Galileans of Jesus' day, one thing seems reasonably clear: they were considered different in many respects from Jews living farther to the south, closer to Jerusalem. All right, so this source is just letting us know it's still a difference between them. These, the archaeologists prove, like we just read, that these are probably Judeans. A lot of Judeans up there that's resettling, but they still live a life that's a lot different from Jerusalem. They keep the dietary laws, but Jerusalem, you will see how Judea kind of looked at the Galileans. The term Galilean seems to have been used in a variety of ways in this period. To some, it just means an outsider or someone who's not really an old Jew of the traditional sort, precisely because the Galilee had traditionally been Jewish at the time of the Maccabean revolt 150 years before Jesus. A lot of problem was apparently due to religion. Says this theologian. Galilee was not geographically far from Galilee was not just geographically far from Jerusalem. It was considered spiritually and politically far too. Galilee was the most pagan of the Jewish provinces, located as it was at the northernmost tier of Palestine. This distance from Zion was not only geographic. Galileans were considered by Judeans to sit rather loosely to the law and to be less biblically pure than those in or near Jerusalem. Judean Pharisees, in particular, were less than impressed with Galilean observance of the fine points of Jewish religious observance. While praised for their passionate identification with Judaism and the Jewish people, their ignorance in the law and disinterest in study was an almost never-ending source for fuel for Judean snobbery. The Jerusalem Talmud records the despair of the first century sage Yohanan ben Zakkai at having been asked no more than 2 questions about Jewish law during his 18 years posting in Galilee. So the Jerusalem Talmud says it was a rabbi there or a sage there, and he upset because he was there 18 years and they only got 2 questions asked by the Galileans. Oh Galilee, in the end, you should be filled with wrongdoers. Finally, the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia informs us the population of Galilee was composed of strangely mingled elements: Aramaean, Etrurian, Phoenician, and Greek. In the circumstances, they could not be expected to prove such stickers for high orthodoxy as the Judeans. Their mixed origin explains the differences in speech, which distinguished them from their brethren in the south, who regarded Galilee and the Galileans with a certain proud contempt. He's talking about those languages, and we'll see it in the text also. Regardless of their origins, however, the points about Galileans on which virtually everyone could agree was their fierce attachment to what they regarded as Judaism, their uncompromising patriotism, and their unstinting courage. Perhaps no sector of the Jewish population fought the Romans with more valor, refusing to surrender when the Judeans were ready to come to the terms. As the great contemporary Josephus recorded, Galileans were always able to make strong resistance on all occasions of war, for the Galileans are inured to war from their infancy, nor has the country ever been destitute of men of courage. So whatever they lacked scholarly or dealing with the Jewish law and observance of it, they made up for in their courage and their patriotism, and they're willing to fight. Might be where Peter get that from. I'll read this real quick too. 7 differences between Judeans and Galileans. Racially, the area of the former northern kingdom of Israel had, ever since the Assyrian conquest in the 8th century BC, a more mixed population, within which more conservative Jewish areas like Nazareth and Capernaum. So you had certain areas in Galilee, like Nazareth and Capernaum, and we're going to see that a lot of ministry is going to be, a lot of Christ's ministry is going to be around those areas that were heavily Judean. Even though some other cities were pagan and may have some mixed population, but there was some strongholds of those going to the synagogues and so forth, and keeping the customs and keeping the law. Stood in close proximity to largely pagan cities, which in the 1st century, the new Hellenistic centers of Tiberias, we was talking about that earlier, and Sepphoris were the chief examples. Geographically, Galilee was separated from Judea by the non-Jewish territory of Samaria, and from Perea in the southeast by the Hellenistic settlements of Decapolis. Politically, Galilee had been under separate administration from Judea during almost all its history since the 10th century BC. Apart from a period of reunification under the Maccabees. And in the time of Jesus, its period of in the time of Jesus, it was under a supposedly native Herodian prince, while Judea and Samaria had since AD 6 been under the direct rule of Roman prefect. And so, at that point, they're under one of Herod's sons, and he's been given rulership before he comes and gets rulership over Judea. But they had a little starting ground in Galilee. Economically, Galilee offered better agricultural and fishing resources than the more mountainous territory of Judea, making the wealth of Galileans the envy of their southern neighbors. Culturally, Judeans despised their northern neighbors as country cousins, their lack of Jewish sophistication being compounded by their greater openness to Hellenistic influence. Linguistically, Galileans spoke a distinctive form of Aramaic whose slovenly consonants they dropped their H's, were the butt of Judean humor. Religiously, the Judean opinion was that the Galileans were lax in their observance and proper ritual, and the problem was exacerbated by the distance of Galilee from the temple and theological leadership, which was focused in Jerusalem. So it was a good ways away. Good ways away. And again, the Judeans didn't think they took the law serious. But there was Judeans there, even though those cities were given to them. We see, around first century, there started being settlements coming in there, but we also see, there's money being made there. Everybody's, other nations are also coming in, especially being that it's on that border going into, those Roman territories and the Arameans.
It was a rich land too.
Shalakia?
It was a rich land. Fishing, right. Agriculture.
Right. So they would get money, man. They would get money up there. They was doing pretty good. Northern Kingdom, before it even split, after it split, but they were doing a lot better. With Hosea and the beginning of Isaiah, they dealing with Northern Kingdom and they giving reference that Northern Kingdom is, they done got so rich and they making so much money. They getting lax. Like even they were lax. You know what I'm saying? Like even they was lax before the Judeans went up there. So it's not, even though it's in the land of Asher and Naphtali and Zebulun, that's not them up there. All right, it's Judeans that have been resettled up there, looking for better opportunities, and the land has extended. But it's not Northern Kingdom. It's Judeans that are going up there. I know some people take that the disciples are all the different tribes, which, you can speculate, but it's possible, but it's still a stretch. Matthew chapter 2, but they could have been all from Judea. They could have been all, so who knows? You know what I'm saying? But Matthew 2, and we're gonna read 1 through 2. He should be called a Nazarene. We're gonna see this being fulfilled. And then 19 through 23. Matthew 2, 1 and 2, and then 19. Then you drop down to 19 through 23.
This is Matthew 2 and 1. Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and are come to worship him. Excuse me.
All right, we've seen his star. Go drop down to 19 to 23.
Verse 19. But when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise and take the young child and his mother and go into the land of Israel, for they are dead which sought the for they are dead which sought the young child's life. And he arose and took the young child and his mother and came into the land of Israel. But when he heard that Archelaus did reign in Judea in the room of his father Herod, he was afraid to go thither. Notwithstanding, being warned of God in a dream, he turned aside into parts of Galilee. And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophets. He shall be called a Nazarene.
All right, so he went into Nazareth. All of these things are lined up the way they were supposed to. Joseph went and bent that corner and went on into Galilee, where these things could be fulfilled, where it be fulfilled that he should be called a Nazarene. Galilee of the Gentiles. We don't need the Matthew 3, and we don't need the we need the Matthew 4 through 25, and in the Isaiah 9.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 4, verse 12. Now, when Jesus had heard that John was cast into prison, he departed to Galilee. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast, in the borders of Zebulun and Naphtali. And it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people which sat in darkness saw great light, and to them which sat in the region and saw of death, light is sprung up. For that time Jesus began to preach and to say, Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Jesus walked by the sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he said unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him. And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogue and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all manner of sickness and all manner of disease among the people. And his fame went throughout all Syria, and they brought unto him all sick people that were taken with diverse diseases and torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which was lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them. And they followed him great multitudes of people from Galilee, and from Decapolis, and from Jerusalem, and from Judea, and from beyond Jordan.
From beyond Jordan, Galilee, Decapolis, Jerusalem, and Judea. And he's mostly doing these things in Galilee. But again, this is the prophecy of Isaiah 9, and we're gonna read that next. But we see him bouncing from Nazareth and again to Capernaum and going in those synagogue areas for the Judeans. Isaiah 9, we're gonna read 1 through 6.
This is Isaiah 9, chapter 1. Shalaki. Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation when at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea beyond Jordan and Galilee of the nations. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them have the light shine. Thou hast multiplied the nation and not increased the joy. They joy before thee according to the joy of harvest, and as men rejoice when they divide the spoil.
And what does Galilee mean?
Galilee means district,
District,
or yeah,
district, the district or circle. All right, so we see that the district or circle of the nations. But we also see here that they were lightly afflicted. I was talking earlier about how the Assyrians first came in, tapped them a little bit, then came in, tapped them a little harder. This is what he's saying is first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. Then he did it more grievous and snatched those folks up out of there in that land for half a millennia. Pretty much became desolate, and the king of Hiram was given the land, but he didn't want it, and eventually during the Hasmonean dynasty, borders were stretched, and Judeans went into that land, whatever a Judean is, because a Judean, I'm gonna look into that also. But it's really someone that inhabited Judea, but does it mean other tribes? Does it mean Simeon? Does it mean Ephraim? Are they Judeans if they inhabited in the land? That's a question I have for myself that I'm looking into also. A rejection from his hometown. Luke 4:14. What time are we looking at? Okay, we good. 14 through 32. Luke chapter 4 and verse 14 through 32.
Con. It's the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 14. And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee, and there went out a fame of him through all the region round about. And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found a place where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he have anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He have sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book, and he gave it again to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, this day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. And all bear him witness and wonder at the glorious words which proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, you will surely say unto me this proverb, physicians, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And he said, verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you of a truth, many windows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when the heavens was shut up 3 years and 6 months, and great famine was throughout all the land. But unto none of them were Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. And many lepers were in Israel in the time of Elias the prophet, and none of them was cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian. And all they in the synagogue that they heard these things were filled with wrath, and rose up and thrust him out the city, and led him unto the brow of the hill whereon their city was built, that they might cast him down headlong. But he passed through the midst of them, went his way, and came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee, and taught them on the Sabbath days. And they were astonished at his doctrine, for the word was with power. And in the
Cons.
synagogue,
So we see how shall I at Nazareth, trying to tell them that this thing is fulfilled at this moment, trying to help them understand who he truly is, and of course they rejected him, and he tells them, hey man, this is the truth. You need to know that of all these folks, Elijah, he could have been sent to all the widows in Israel, but Elijah was only sent to a Gentile widow. All the lepers in Israel, but Elisha was only sent to a Gentile a Gentile leper that cleansed them. And they got mad at that thing and was filled with wrath and tried to thrust him out of the city over this hill. And then he goes back to Capernaum. And he's there teaching on the Sabbath days. And they were astonished at his doctrine. They was amazed at his doctrine. For his word was with power. You see Nazareth here at the bottom here, and Capernaum is up here, of course, on this city. On this sea. There's probably a port, a port city. You see the Jordan River there dumping into it and coming down through the bottom. So it's probably a lot of money here. Probably some good money here. And if you even see if you seen the cover picture, man, you see Nazareth, like them cities is still there. All right, them cities are still there. They ain't, that stuff is still there. You can see the Hellenistic. You can see that it's kind of looking a little Romish, He go back, so you can see where he was bouncing back and forth. And then you're talking about that to Rias. This was a pagan city here. On this other side, there's probably a few more. But we'll see. Ye ain't coming through here. Luke chapter 9, 51 through 56. And maybe about 4-5 more slides, y'all.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 9, and verse 54. 51.
51 through 56.
And it came to pass when the time was come that he should be received up, he steadfastly set his face to go to Jerusalem, and sent messengers before his face. And they went and entered into a village of the Samaritans to make ready for him. And they did not receive him, because his face was as though he would go to Jerusalem. And when his disciples James and John saw this, they said, Lord, wilt thou that we commanded fire to come down from heaven and consume them, even as Elias did? But he turned and rebuked them and said, Ye know not what manner of spirit ye are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. And it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Lord, I will follow thee whithersoever thou goest.
That's all I wanted out. And we just seeing again the Samaritans. We'll get into the Samaritans. I got a lesson on the Samaritans also, but we see the attitude too towards the Samaritans that Galileans are having towards the Samaritans, to the point of them making them go around, and they usually did go around. And even the re-inhabitants of Judea, they didn't go through Samaria to get to Galilee. they went around and re-inhabited that area. But they understood that. I did some I looked into their text, the Samaritans text that they have, and they They only have the Torah, but they're saying that Moses was wrong for going down to Jerusalem. That's not the place to go. You're supposed to be in Mount Gerizim, and so they talk against Moses, and they feel like Gerizim was where they supposed to be going. And if you recall the Samaritan woman saying, "Yeah, well, this what they telling us. We supposed to be over here." Yep, that's what they tell them. That's what they tell them also. That's where it's supposed to be. All that stuff about Jerusalem and that temple being built right there, all of that was wrong, and Moses and them went off doing that. And they wrote that. They wrote that it's an ancient text, but people do, man. People do certain things to. They may have thought they were right by doing that. They may have felt that was the way because that was what they were taught, and they still do that today. And this is why they stopped Christ too, man. You going down there, that ain't where you supposed to be going. And even that may even change the tone on the woman, the Samaritan woman. It's like, man, we supposed to be worshiping here. This is where it's supposed to be at. What Nazareth? John 1, we're gonna read 34 through 51.
God. It's the book of John, chapter 1, verse 34. And I saw and bear record that this is the Son of God. Again, the next day after John stood, and two of his disciples, and looking upon Jesus as he walked, he said, "Behold the Lamb of God." And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Jesus. Then Jesus turned and saw them following, and said unto them, "What seek ye?" They said unto him, "Rabbi," which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou? He said unto them, "Come and see." They came and saw where he dwelt, and abode with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. One of one of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon's brother, Simon Peter's brother. He first findeth his own brother Simon, and said unto him, "We have found the Messiah," which is being interpreted the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus, and when Jesus beheld him, he said, "Thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas," which is by interpretation a stone. The day following, Jesus would go forth into Galilee and findeth Philip, and said unto him, "Follow me." Now Philip was of Bethsaida,
Bethsaida.
Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip findeth Nathanael, and said unto him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and the prophet did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." And Nathanael said unto him, "Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth?"
Mm.
Philip said unto him, "Come and see."
So you see, even Nathaniel, Galilean, he even talking crazy about Nazareth.
Mm.
He,
Mm.
can any good thing come out of Nazareth?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? He the Messiah that Moses was speaking of.
Mm.
Go ahead. Yeah, 47.
47. Jesus said, Nathanael coming to him, and said to him, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile." Nathanael said unto him, "Whence knowest thou me?" Jesus answered and said unto him, "Before that Philip called thee, when thou was under the fig tree, I saw thee." Nathanael answered and said unto him, "Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel." Jesus answered and said unto him, "Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these." And he said unto him, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man."
Cons, that's a light thing what you seen. Because you believe me because I said I seen you under the tree.
Hmm.
But he out his mouth sound no guile, man. Israelite indeed. But we just wanted to glean from that the emotions of Nazareth and understanding why these people are being gathered out of Galilee. On that I will use the simple to confound the wise. The Galileans were people that a lot of scholars would look down upon. A lot of the Pharisaical and the Sadducees and all those great rabbis that was around, they looked down on the Galileans, even though it kind of sounded like they was keeping something. But to those people, they didn't know what they were talking about. They was lax. Go ahead, huh?
Now I was just saying, can there be any good thing come out of Bankhead?
Right. It's gonna be hard to believe.
God.
It's gonna be hard to believe. In this whole book, like I said, the whole story is an underdog story.
Hmm.
So he's gonna choose. It just makes sense that he chooses those disciples from that part. Plus, they're not heavily indoctrinated. Some people get to a point where they're so indoctrinated that they can't learn nothing else. They can't see nothing else. They know everything, and they seen the Messiah and said, "Nah, that can't be him because he's supposed to be from here." We're gonna see that. That might be the next slide. I got just a few more slides, y'all. Well, and a couple of them pictures. All right. But we see, I don't know if y'all can see that these are numbered. Like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All the way to like this 13, this 14. And then the ministry started here. All these little dots are the events that happened during Christ's ministry. All right. And all of us, you see Tyree and Zidon. You see Tyree right there and Zidon, Phoenician. And it's the land of Canaan. We was talking earlier, me and Brother Eleazar about, well, not earlier, but sometime in the week, about why is that Canaanite woman called a Phoenician in one place and called Canaanite or Syrian Phoenician because of the area. And all of this land is supposed to be Canaan, but we took this stuff over. And then you see Tyree right there. Zidon's a little lower. But again, I'm pulling this to show the how he traveled. Most of his ministry was in Galilee, in this Galilee of the nations. And then he went on down to end up being killed. All right. Once he set his face to Jerusalem, it was to go down there and be rejected and put on that cross. This is also a map of how that ministry played out. But majority of it, I done seen people say even 90% of it was in Galilee, not in Judea. No prophet rises out of Galilee. John 7, 41 through 53.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 7, and verse 41. Others said, "This is the Christ." But some said, "Shall Christ come out of Galilee? Have not the scriptures said that Christ cometh of the seed of David and out of the town of Bethlehem where David was?" So there was a division among the people because of him.
See, now that's what we was just talking about. The scripture said that he gonna come from the seed of David out of the town of Bethlehem. They don't know that Christ was born. They didn't even want to ask, was Christ born? And because he had the reputation of being raised in Nazareth, but he was born in Bethlehem. But they coming out the gate, man. Where say that at? That he gonna come from Galilee. Go ahead.
And some of them would have taken him, but no man laid hands on him. Then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto them, Why have ye not brought him? The officers answered, Never man spake like this man. Then answered them the Pharisees, Are ye also deceived?
Mm,
Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him?
mm,
But this people who knoweth not the law are cursed.
mm. And say, listen, like, what people he talking about? He talking about these foolish Galileans that done believed on this fool, and all these other folks who don't keep the law. And then he put a play out on. He did. It's almost like a respect of persons. Like, listen, man, we the teachers. And did any of us say it? Did any of the darn Pharisees believe on them? Do any of the Sadducees believe? Do any of the rulers believe them? Then why in the world you believing?
Hmm.
You know, and people that do that too. People man do any of the other camps teach that? Do any other the bishop teach that? The general teach that? You know, we'll play on that. We play on that sometimes too, man. You know, sometimes even unknowingly, or you know, not really realizing, but you gotta be careful with that. And that's what he threw out there trying to tell these folks. And the officers had something inside himself. He's saying, man, well, listen, man, that thing, the way he talking, I ain't heard nobody talk like that, man. I ain't heard nobody break this thing down like that. I ain't seen nobody do what he be doing.
That's right.
You making sense to me. Go ahead.
Verse 48. Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him? But this people who knoweth not the law are cursed. It's like they already read that. But Nicodemus said unto them, He that came to Jesus by night, being one of them, doeth our law judge any man before it hear him, and know what he doeth? They answered and said unto him, Art thou also of Galilee?
Are you also like them stupid Galileans? Come on, Nicodemus. I thought you better than that, man.
Wow.
I thought you knew a little something. You know, and Nicodemus feeling a little bad about it. He tried to throw it out there. Well, listen, man, y'all shouldn't you hear the man out first? Like, do we just judge people without hearing them? Like, bro, you one of them Galileans too. You don't know the scriptures either. The man's supposed to be from darn Bethlehem, man. He got to be born in Bethlehem. We got to be at the seed of David. Our joker's cursed. Go ahead.
Search and look, for out of Galilee ariseth no prophet. And every man went into his own house.
Yeah, man. Then you killed the conversation. Go search the scriptures out, man. Don't no prophet come from no darn Galilee. We just sent them folks up there, man. And they don't come down here and keep no darn feast days. They don't keep the law, they don't know it.
Mm.
Matthew 26:73 is talking about that language, and then just the last slide here is just another picture of just, you know, the locations and where he was at and so forth.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 73. And after a while came unto him they that stood by and said to Peter, Surely thou also art one of them, but thou speech bewrayeth thee.
That speech bewrayeth thee. This is the NLT right here I got up here. It says, you must be one of them. We can tell by your Galilean accent.
Mm.
It said, your speech betrayeth you. Your speech bewrayeth you. You sound just like them darn these Galileans. Yeah, you one of them believers. You one of them jokers. I hear your accent. And they was identified by that. And we talked, you know, we talked earlier. I said we are gonna show you a verse that's dealing with it. But again, you see how much went on above Samaria. You know, all the way in all these different events where he healed all these people. All of this is happening in Galilee. Um, then you have a marker close to well, you had a Samaritan woman here at 16, and then speaking to Nicodemus and the pool, and eventually the crucifixion. Even healing the blind man over there in Jericho, and you see that Perea, like he going around.
Mm.
He going around. You got 15 right here, and then this 16. You went over here, then you bounced over there. But that was it, man. If y'all got any questions, or anything to add, if not, man, we'll close on out. But just give a little, like those Galileans were, um, it was a Hellenistic mixed kind of area, but they also had a strongholds that Christ was dealing with in those particular synagogues, looking for those Judeans that were there. It was easy to get to those spots. They had those Judean strongholds. Even if you look into Alexandria, Egypt, even that city was blocked off. The Jews had blocked it off to stay away from the pagans, the pagan portion. So you had pagan portions of the market, you had pagan portions of cities, and then you had, Judean. You had a Judean sector. Just like today, man. You got like a Chinatown. And you got little Mexico. You got a little Mexico area with all the signs of Mexico. That's they was doing that stuff even back then. But yeah, I yield, y'all. Anybody got anything?
Hey, Salakia, like you said, a lot of that stuff still there today, but the names don't change. Even from when we came out of Egypt, man, across the Red Sea, and the God descending on the mountain, the split rock, all that you can see it.
Right.
They went on a little journey from Egypt and went all the way through that thing, man. The 12 pillars. It's still there. But
Yeah, they got that stuff blocked off, man. They got it like that mountain gated off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still charred.
Yep.
I see people running up on that rock that they say is it. I don't know for sure, but it do look like a split rock, and it it got the. They show that it looked like some water ran through here at one point or whatever, and
So like another interesting thing, they found the city of Sodom and Gomorrah, and
right.
they were picking sulfur out the I guess buildings that were left over, and it's 100% pure sulfur,
Yeah, I seen that.
and it still burns. You can still light it up. Right.
Yeah, I seen that.
Right.
You can pick that stuff up, but yeah. Well, I hope this thing was edifying. Y'all look into these things, man. Don't take my word for it. Try to get understanding of these people. Again, just like we have Samaria, we're going to have to go through that too, and try to get an understanding of how that area was re-inhabited, or was it, or how it was mixed in, so forth. But maybe we do that class next week. Maybe we do it throughout the week. It depends. Just see how the spirit moves. But I pray this thing will edifying again. Israel, y'all be blessed. Shalom.
Shalom.
Fluffy.